Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brooke. Thanks for joining. If you are new here, this is a channel where I talk about houseplants and do DIYs on my shorts. So if you haven't, take a minute and subscribe to my channel so you can be up to date on all my new videos. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back and watching another video. Today I'm going to do a June favorites, or what's new in June, because I only have two favorites. The past months I feel like I've had way more to talk about, but really there's only one favorite this month, and so I want to talk about that. And also I said in my May video, like my May favorites video, if you watched that I would be doing like maybe a June not favorites. And I kind of did that through my houseplant purge video, which everyone seems to like. So thank you so much if you've watched that video. If you haven't, go check it out. But it's funny to me because I said in my May video that I would talk about things that I didn't like, and basically that video covers it. Those are the things that I didn't like and I'm not liking right now. But it's funny to me that my two like highest ranking whatever videos, or just most views, are two videos that I talk about houseplants that I don't like, or what I don't like. So maybe I'll do that more often. Maybe I'll just be the honest houseplant person and tell you about all the things that I don't enjoy about houseplants, because there are more. But today is all about my favorites. And so again, I only have really one favorite, but I'm kind of including another one because it's new in June and I felt like that rhymed better. Anyways, so we're going to talk about that. So I will talk about the what's new in June first. First up, I have shared this already in my video of my Florida like unboxing little video, but I didn't really talk about it much because the storm came, cut me off. It is definitely new in June and a June favorite. This is the Periso Verde Philodendron, and it is beautiful. This leaf sold me right here. That one was it. Like, it's pretty large. I've seen these online in different shops, but I had never seen one in person, and it's beautiful. This was $30, $34 maybe. And so I felt like that was a good price comparative to what I had seen online. Yeah, I don't have the price tag anymore. I felt like that was a good price for a plant like this. It's very unique, and I love the pattern on this. So this I also love because it reminds me of my Burley Marks variegated, which I have right back here. If you've seen any of my videos, you will know that this is just my favorite plant. It will probably always be my favorite plant. It is beautiful. The variegation on it is stunning and just totally different than any variegated plant that I have seen. And so that's why I really liked this guy, because it's just a totally different pattern. It's a very like camo, multi-cam army uniform. And so that's why I love these two. They are awesome variegations. It's just crazy to me. It's not really patchy. It's just very like little blocks. Like, it's so beautiful. So this is definitely a June favorite. This is always a favorite, but I got it in Florida at a plant shop called Native, and it's in Cocoa Beach, Florida. So if you are around there, go check them out. I'm excited to see it grow. It already has a new growth point right there. And so again, I picked this one out specifically because of this leaf. It's got a little bit of variegation on two other leaves, but then again, none on the two smaller ones. You can see that's kind of a pattern there, but it's so beautiful. I really love this plant. I'll be interested to see how it goes. I feel like my philodendron like these are very easy to care for. I do not have this currently under a grow light, and it sits on top of my office shelf next to my philodendron mayoi. And so I feel like this is a lower okay light plant. We'll see. We'll see if the variegation continues this way or changes. If it does change, then I will move it under one of my grow lights and figure that out. But for now, it's doing really well. Also, I traveled with this guy on the plane, so I have a short coming out, or maybe it is already out, kind of showing how I packaged this guy, and I just put it in my carry-on and he did really well. The plant that is really the June favorite, and like the only favorite I have, and again I have talked about this in my little mini Florida unboxing, it is the Queen Anthurium, and this is just like, this is real. That's what's so crazy about this plant, and I guess why I have always loved it and really wanted one. When I saw it, that I was like, I have never seen one in person. I do not import plants. I'm not trying to do that. I feel like it's a waste of money, sorry. But I saw this guy, this was imported into their shop. So I did ask questions about it. It was bare root, which my husband thought it came from Beirut or Beirut. I don't know. He was confused, but this did come bare root. So she plugged it into soil, which I'll be fascinated to see if it's rooted. And I haven't checked on it, and she hadn't checked on it. She said she had plugged it into this pot for like 3 weeks prior, and she wasn't listing it yet. So this is kind of a plant that we'll see what happens, because she didn't technically have it listed. I just asked, and she was gracious enough to list it for me. I don't know what's in the soil, and I would like to dig in and see if it's rooted or what. But I have been reading up on these guys because I only have one other anthurium, and that is my clarinevrum, which is right up there. I've recently repotted it. It's doing really well. So I keep that one in a pretty not dense soil mix. It is just soil, not even charcoal. I think I have perlite and orchid bark a little bit in it, but I have noticed that guy likes to stay moist, and it's what I have read and seen online, that a lot of anthurium don't like to dry out, and so that guy's been doing really well. I have had it in the same potting soil. I potted it up, but it's been doing really well. It grew a lot since I had gotten it, and it sat under my Sansi grow light. So I have moved it out of that spot because it kind of grew out of it. And I have a 1-year-old who is like climbing on that, the table that it was sitting on. So I didn't want it to tip over. So I have moved it in here. It sits farther back from a southwest facing window. And so I'm going to see how it does. But if it starts to act poorly or, go poorly, I will change it up and put it under a grow light. But I want to see how it does. It's been a really easy to care for plant so far. So I'm just hoping that it continues that way. The queen, I have heard, is not that easy, but I think it's just because the care for it, I think, is different than a clarinevrum or a species like that, or a whatever typical anthurium. I feel like there are some box anthuriums, which I would say is like the clarinevrum. And then I think that there are specialty anthuriums, which is like the veitchii and like this guy, and I don't even know what, because I can't keep up with all of them. Pretty much everyone says that these are more testy, or they notice more when something is off. So as a clarinevrum probably is like a pothos, where it's not going to tell you really or react to a bad condition, because pothos are easy. They don't really care, and they kind of can thrive in anything. But from my understanding, this cannot do that. And so you do have to watch the soil that it is in and watch how you water it. And so I want to get it out of this soil mix, because it is currently just in what looks like pumice, some bark, and maybe a peat moss or just soil mix. And from, again, watching videos, everyone does it soilless. And so for this specific plant. And so I want to take it out of there and just look at it. And also I have this moss pole already made up. This is what my philodendron melanochrysum was on before I got spider mites. And so I'm going to be repotting it. I have cleaned this, so it's all good. But I will pot it in that, because these are climbers, which is so fascinating because of their leaf, or the foliage. Because you wouldn't typically, you'd look at this and I wouldn't think that this climbed, but it does. They get gigantic and beautiful and just long-lobed. And the queen specifically, and probably most anthurium, I feel like, they have a lot of different forms. So this is the Warwickwianum. I think that's it. Warwickwianum. This is the Warwickwianum, which has a ton of different varieties of that same group. So I know that there's like a narrow form, there's a dark form, there's a light form, there's a form that's not so lobed and split like this one is. And so it's just very intriguing to me to see all of the different variations of this specific plant. But this leaf, I mean, you can see it's gigantic, and they're beautiful velvet. I'm trying not to touch it, but I can't help but to touch it because I really love it. This leaf over here, still beautiful. You can tell that it had, I think, some import damage because this is what it looked like when I saw it. It's very wavy, but it's to be, I would say, it's to be, you know, expected with something like this. Anyways, let's just see what's below the soil. I'm really shocked right now because it's actually extremely well rooted, which again, the lady behind the counter, who I'm not sure if she was the shop owner or what, I assume so because she knew, you know, where the plant had come from and that it was imported and she'd potted it up 3 weeks prior, blah. But she was even concerned because she's like, I don't know if it's rooted, and was kind of like just, you know, slow on saying yes. And so I'm really the one that was like, no, I will take it. It's fine. But it's so well rooted. So 3 weeks she had said that she had this in the soil, and it's way more rooted than I thought. So it does have a lot of sphagnum moss in here as well. Hold on, let me clean it up a little bit better because I didn't get a table to do this on. I'm just doing this on carpet in a baggie. But it's so well rooted. So that's encouraging because, again, you know, I don't know much about these plants, and I think that the major consensus is that they are difficult to care for because they are such unique, different plants, and it's a very uncommon plant, but that rooted real well, like very, very well. And again, she said she got it bare root. So this is crazy that it's this rooted. I was not anticipating this much because I don't even think I can pot this up in the pot. Again, I was going to pot it into this smaller 8-inch pot with the moss pole, which, you know, takes away a lot of space. But I don't think I can do that because this is the roots. Like that's not going to be good. So that's crazy. These are the roots, and they are so healthy looking. I have not watered this since I got it. It has not dried out. Again, I took this on a plane. I packaged it up and took it on the plane with me and put it in my carry-on. And so it stayed moist through that whole process and hasn't dried out, which I'm kind of surprised about because I've traveled several times with plants on a plane. And usually by the end of the trip, they're all dry and I have to water them when I get home. But this guy, he's still very moist. So I know that's because it has a lot of peat moss and it had sphagnum moss around it, and which is good for creating roots because it created a really great root system. Like that's nuts. So, okay, well, I'm excited about that, I guess. Bummed because I can't add it to the moss pool right now. I need a bigger pot and I don't have any. And so I think what I'm going to do is just put this guy back, which now I feel like I'm just shocking it. Don't see any new growth points on this guy. Again, it's came bare root, and so it's been focusing all of its energy and time into the root system and forming that I'm sure it will take a minute for a new growth point to come out. It honestly looks like a leaf did die off because I can see it now. Like there's a sheath still over this large leaf right here from where I believe a leaf was cut, probably prior to shipping. Or just taking this sheath off. Oh yeah, there's the growth point. Okay. Sorry, I'm being nosy now. So yes, okay. I took the sheath off a little bit actually the old leaf off. And yes, there is a new growth point down there. So I'm going to not touch it. But this guy is beautiful. I'm really excited. That's awesome. I will pop this guy back up into this pot because again, I want to pot it up on a moss pole because these do climb. And so I'm just going to wait on that and wait until I have the right stuff and then I'll repot it. This guy sits right next to my mammii, which is right there, and does get a lot of southwest facing light, which is what that window is right there with my head. And so it gets consistently bright light, and it sits next to my humidifier as well, because you can see it in the background there. My humidifier is going. And so I'm just going to keep it there. I'm not going to put this in a grow cabinet because I don't really love grow cabinets. I don't have one. It's something that I've talked about before, but I really want to live with my plants and not just have them sitting in a cabinet and kind of not seeing or being near me. I don't know how to explain that, but I don't like collecting plants just to sit in a cabinet. I want them to be seen and viewed because they are beautiful and they are so fun to look at. And so putting them in a cabinet, you know, I don't have a lot of space for that. So we'll see how this does, because I think that almost every other person I have seen one, like with queen anthuriums, have them in a grow cabinet. So we'll see if that is against me or is fine. But so far, it's done very well in the conditions that I'm giving it. Now, she did not have it in a grow cabinet either. She had it on the top of one, and it did not sit under a grow light, and she did not have a humidifier next to it. So I'm hoping that by her, you know, acclimating it to that sort of environment helps me in my environment, because that's again why I've never wanted to do an import, is the, I don't know, not ratio, but the possibilities of a plant going south and dying from an import is very high. And I have seen several people like unbox these same videos like over and over again with these anthurium or just really costly plants that are not here in the States. And I would say 99% of the time they die. And so that's why I was really excited to see this anthurium not, you know, online to order from overseas. So I'll let her do that, because clearly she kept it and kept it alive and rooted it very well. And so I am excited to see what it does in my care. Now it's on to me. There's this guy all potted back up, and so I'll just put him back in his normal spot, and hopefully here soon I can repot or find a new pot and repot him onto a moss pole, and that new growth point hopefully will start growing and we'll get a new leaf. So that was my June favorites, or what's new in June. It was only those two plants. Again, I didn't really have the amount of favorites as I've had in previous videos. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what your favorites are for the month in your plant collection, or what items you're loving. And make sure to subscribe, and we will see you next time.